I heard from you, but tell us about Rainy Days and kind of where it fits, into the project.
Hmm. So, sorry. Rainy Days was at a point in the project and in my life when I had finally kind of settled into my relationship, into myself. Um, but it so it was like it was a love song that really was just describing like how beautiful that my relationship was and how confident I was within it. But it also was speaking to the hard times in those relationships and the times when you're most vulnerable, and how strong a relationship can be when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and honest in those spaces where you might have some difficulty, like being true about your feelings and that kind of stuff. So I wanted that to fit in the project near the end because it was like this whole journey of me being lost, and now I'm like found in this safety of my relationship. And even though my relationship was still hard because I was going through all that, my being vulnerable in that space allowed me to find a love for both myself and my partner that was more deep than I had known I was able to provide in a relationship. Yeah.
It's like deeper than even known possible. I
Yeah.
I almost feel like this interview is just for me because these are like my own personal questions. Everyone knows I love love, so we talk in my language right now.
Yeah.
And especially Rainy Days coming at the end, why I mentioned that me like hearing it first is like that was one of the first songs I heard from you. So when I heard the rest of the project compared to Rainy Days, I was like, oh, okay, this is it's like a little bit of a journey going on here. So
Mhm.
I'm glad you talked about that because Rainy Days was definitely more like love is great.
Mhm.
Being vulnerable is so fun, which is not it's not always fun.
Yeah.
But it was one of those few times when you're like, oh, being vulnerable, such a great choice that I made here.
Yeah, exactly.
I love to hear that on a project because people don't always talk about that. It's like being vulnerable is sometimes like we also know people say it's a bad thing, but it's not a cool thing to do sometimes.
Mhm. Yeah. And I disagree with that in the sense that I think it's one of the coolest things that you can do is to be vulnerable, because a lot of the times that will change a circumstance. And sometimes it might change it in a way that feels awful at the time. You might lose something or someone that you love. Um, but in the long run, being authentic to your own emotions is always beneficial. And so yeah, it doesn't seem cool, but it's definitely one of the coolest things you can do because of how far it will take you in the future. And so I wanted that to also come out before the album too, to show like well, one, because it was like the most R&B like song that I think was on there, and so it was very, like I knew that people would take to it, and also because I wanted to show that, you know, I am in a good place right now, but I want to show you kind of what happened before I get there. So that came out first, and then you get to listen to the whole album to figure out like, okay, that's how we're at this point now.
No, no,